Morning all, how we doing? Happy Monday, back again. Everybody have a good weekend. So I'm a bit late this morning. Running behind, as usual. Right. Euro's come down very hard this morning. Well, Euro Swiss. Bit of a drop across the board this morning on the euro. I'm not sure whether this is wow, look at the euro pound, to do with the election outcome or what, but the euro's certainly not very happy this morning. Just going to quickly scan through, see if there's any news. No, can't see any news. No. So fairly big drop so far this morning on the euro. It's only 1 hour candle, obviously, but very big move down. So that euro Swiss trade that I've got on from where's my pen gone again? God, this epic pen, seriously, drives you crazy. Right, launch it again. Some mornings it just works, some mornings it just doesn't. Right, I've launched it. Where is it then? It's up there. Right, okay. It's moved. Got 3 positions on this at the moment on the Euro Swiss. So this accumulation that we're in at the moment, we've just broken out to the downside back into here. So we're either going to get the bounce back from there, or we're going to obviously bounce off to the upside. So we will see. But big moves down on the euro. So I'm holding on to this at the minute. Morning, Andy. Morning, Diamond. Nice weekend away from the charts. Always good. Mostly. In the back tester. ADR is lit up across the board this morning as well. We've got some big moves on the Aussie as well. Come down fairly hard during the Asian session. We had this big drop started obviously off on Thursday last week, moving quite hard to the downside as well. So not quite sure again what's going on with the Aussie. This is the problem with the FX market at the moment. It's literally all over the place. It's just turning on a dime whenever it fancies at the minute. Obviously the Aussie, we had that massive strength on the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar when the war kicked off. The whole lot's just been undone. So literally in the last 2 days, we've dropped all the way straight back down to here. So huge drop on the Aussie US especially, but all the Aussie pairs. You can see it's obviously weak against the New Zealand dollar as well. So big drops again across the board. So I'm going to run through all the FX pairs this morning. Have a look at everything, see where we are with everything, see if there's any good opportunities to get into any positions. I haven't had a look at the COT this morning. I've got out of the habit of looking at the COT on Monday mornings now. Let's have a quick look at it and just see what's happened, just out of interest. I'm not paying a lot of attention to it at the moment, but so where are we? 19th. So US dollar still negative. CAD has flipped long. Interesting. We flipped back short again on the euro, which is what I was expecting. That 1 week we had last week where we flipped long. I don't think that is long on the euro. Flip back short again on that. Swiss franc, we kind of ignore. Nothing new on the yen. Market is still massively short on the yen. New Zealand, we've scaled back to almost positive territory, and the Australian dollar has been gradually strengthening up. It all just seems very, very delayed and behind the times at the minute, the COT report. So Canadian dollar is the only thing that's really changed this week. So everything else is pretty much business as usual. But as I say, I'm not paying a massive amount of attention to COT at the minute. It's long term, and I'm not really looking to get anything long term at the minute. So ignoring that to a certain extent. Have a quick look at the news, what we've got coming up this week, which we need to be aware of. Today we've got Macklem talking at 4 o'clock. Apart from that, there's nothing much else happening. Tomorrow we've got nothing. It's all orange news tomorrow, so it's durable goods and consumer confidence for the US. Nothing particularly exciting there. Aussie dollar on Wednesday morning at 2:30 a.m. before the market opens. Well, before the market opens London, we've got the CPI figures for the Aussie, so we could get some movement off the back of that. So there's this manipulation that we're seeing on the Australian dollar, which started on Friday. Could well be them moving into position to put a reversal in on Wednesday. This is the one that's interesting to me this week. The BOJ outlook report. The yen is obviously massively downtrodden. As we know, it's been really, really, really weak for a long time. We are expecting the Bank of Japan to step in and do something about that. So this could well be where Kuroda steps in and says, right, this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to go. And it all starts to shift. So interested to see what happens on Thursday morning. Apart from that, as you can see this week, not a lot happening at all. We've got GDP for the US dollar on Thursday afternoon as well, so that'll be a big one for the US dollar. Look at the difference on that. Previous GDP 6.9, expected to be 1%. Not good, is it? So yeah, that would be an interesting one as well on Thursday afternoon. And then Friday, we got bank holiday in Japan, which is always interesting. Quite often we get a lot of manipulation of the yen when Japan is closed. We get a lot of yen activity. So whether that be positive or negative, we don't know, but we quite often see quite a lot of movement on bank holidays. So Friday could be a decent day for the yen as well. And then we got PCE for the US dollar. So nothing dramatic this week. We haven't got the FOMCs or anything crazy like that. But we have got this one. This is what I'm interested in on Thursday, to see if we can get some decent movement on the yen finally. But either way, that could go obviously completely opposite way. Whatever he says could be taken as further signs of weakness, and we could have a much weaker yen on Thursday, which is hard to fathom, isn't it? But you never know. It could well happen. Sorry, just taking a quick long on the DAX. Yeah, so that's your weekly outlook on the news. So there's a fair bit coming up, but nothing really dramatic. We've got loads of ADRs today already, so we'll have a look at those in a sec. Morning, Stevie. The French people have voted that idiot Macron back in, which is probably why the euro has tanked. Careful. The Armand's French. Don't start a fight. Peter, I know nothing about French politics, so I have no idea if he's an idiot or not. Anyway, he's a politician, of course he is. Right, the status quo maintained usually equals market strength, or is it a close result? I think it was fairly close. I think he got in with 58% in the end. So I don't know whether that is really that close, is it? Yeah, as Andy's just said. It's more of a steamroller, I think, in political terms. It's quite a bit, so... morning, Maripane. Spread on gold is unusually high, or is this just my broker on my Forex factory? My Forex factory? My MFF. Let's look at gold quickly. I haven't got a spread. Mine's alright. On MFF, gold is not too bad. Nothing out of the ordinary, I don't think. On mine, anyway. Morning, Burke. Aussie dollar is being manipulated on Anzac Day. Is it Anzac? Oh, is it Anzac Day? Right, okay. It's not a bank holiday, though. Oh, yes, it is. Of course it is. Yesterday was a bank holiday, wasn't it? What's going on? Sorry, I've just got a load of emails coming in. 90% spam, as usual. Right, so let's have a quick look at everything. Oh, Diamond, I'm a US citizen living in France. Oh, okay, fine. At least he's not a Putin. That is true. My Forex funds, yeah. I don't really get politics is just meh. Doesn't matter to me who gets in. They all do the same thing. Whoever you have at the front is irrelevant. The person at the front doesn't drive the ship. Gets told which way to steer it, as far as I'm concerned. Any politician you put in power is just going to do the same thing. Right. Okay, so we'll flick through everything and have a look at everything this morning, and look to see if there's any opportunities, any support resistance, bounces we can look at, any areas of interest that we're getting to that we can take some positions on. Just seeing quickly what's happening with that Euro Swiss. Still pushing down. So we are obviously, whatever, depending on what happens with this candle over the next hour, we're potentially forming a very large propulsion gap here, which the market will come and trade back into at some point. But this is obviously a very big drop for the euro this morning. So when you get these big ones, like this one here, for example, actually this is two, but when you get these big zones that open up, one of two things tends to happen, like this one here. So we got this big one here, yeah, where we pushed up really fast, really hard. One or two things tends to happen. It either gets filled within sort of 24 hours, as it did in that case, or we trade away for it for days or weeks on end and then come back to it gradually. So this is kind of a sell cycle turning back into a buy cycle. So market sells off, market starts to take profit, and then we come back the other way. So this one is obviously going to be painted there shortly in the next hour. So we're either going to come back down, probably retest this area and then come back up to that at a later stage, or we will just suddenly pop back up there today. So you can either go for it straight away, look for signs of reversal, so drop down onto M5 and look for a 5-minute reversal alert and try and trade that over the next 24 hours, 30 odd pips, or it's just going to continue down. So you could scale into it over the next few days stroke week. But yeah, you never know what's going to happen with them. So, but it's interesting, that one looking like we are still showing signs of weakness at the moment down there. But obviously the market's just opened, so we'll see what happens with that one. Look at the DAX. Oh yeah, DAX is off. Woohoo! Just taking along on the DAX. So I'm looking for the gap fill on the DAX this morning. Market's just opened 5 minutes ago, obviously. So this is the opening range going in at the minute. Sorry, the opening range has already gone in. There's your opening range high there, and opening range low. So we're breaking out to the upside, just cracking those highs. See if we meet any resistance at the top there. We'll have a look through all the indices in a minute. I should have taken another position on that. Never mind. Just watching this double top here. Just sorry, I'm just getting distracted a little bit by this double top. I'm just going to. I'm just worried we're going to take this this double top out and run back the other way this morning. I'm just going to reduce my risk on my funded account on that to break even. I'm going to let this one run and just reduce risk on it. Just don't want to get whipsawed out this morning on it. Obviously, double tops work very well, especially at the open. They come up and sweep the highs quite often, but we have got that gap today. So just seeing what price action's doing at these highs. We've got 30 seconds. Just watch this for the next 30 seconds or so. it's quite a big pullback off the highs there at the end of that candle. So it could well be just a rejection. I don't know what to do with this one this morning. Thinking now, innit? So we have broken out the opening range high, but literally by that much. So it's a very, very weak break. I just stopped out a break even on my other account. I've only got about a 0.8 risk on that now, I think. So I'm just going to let that run, see what happens with it. I can now visualize where the limit orders are. You can picture them up there at the double tops, yeah. That's one of the advantages of Boocamp. Now you've seen Boocamp operating, you can literally visualize a big orange stripe up there, can't you? And tons of limit orders sitting up there ready to trade it back down. Yeah, back down to session open. I think I'm going to stop out on this by those things. I was kind of hoping they were just going to run for that gap. They may well still do it, but I just don't like that. That's a big. You can imagine Tick Strike going crazy up there. We'll let it run. See what happens. Right. So, FX pairs. Aussie dollar CAD. So this morning, I'm going to go through all the FX pairs, do an analysis of them all, see where we are, see where we're heading, and just try and get into some positions basically on whatever looks good at the minute. It's very difficult for directional bias at the moment, as we know. The market's very, very all over the place. So what I'm looking to do is just basically place support and resistance bounces. Ideally, it's trying to stay in line with current trend, but with a lot of stuff at the minute, even with current trend, obviously, as you can see, we are very, very range bound on a lot of stuff. There's nothing much apart from the yen really at the moment going crazy on a trend. So the problem with trend trading, as I've said many, many times, is if you're using any kind of moving average, whatever it may be, for a trend bias, by the time you've identified that trend bias, like here, we're trending up, so you put a new high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, you go, oh look, we're trending. It then comes back down and goes into a range and drops. And this is the problem with trend trading. By the time you've identified the trend is about to finish. Therefore, it's not a trend anymore. You will get ones where you will get in there, obviously. Let's just stop me out. I'm just going to get in one more long on the DAX. Sorry, it hasn't stopped me out on here. It's just my Forex funds account stopped me out at break even. So I'm just entering another long. I've just entered another long up there, looking for this breakout. If we can break these highs, I think we're doing the gap. So I'm just taking a risk there with a stop underneath that candle. So what I'm basically looking for is just bounces, basically. Any double bottoms, any good support resistance areas, any accumulations which we're approaching for potential bounces, basically. Because at the moment we are reaching an awful lot for levels, which is what we always do in FX. That's what the market does. But we're doing a lot of level reaching at the minute. And bouncing. If it slams through it, you don't get in, do you? So that's basically what I'm going to be analysing. Pound CAD's just hit as well. And looking for some decent entries. I'm going to be looking to get in with a couple of positions. As you know, I don't usually use a stop because I'm position trading, but I'm going to be using a sort of soft stop with them because I don't want to get whipsawed out. There's a lot of price action whipsawing at the minute as well, as we've seen in the indices. So looking for opportunities where we may well get an initial bite of the cherry if we're not out. Looking for other levels of support and resistance, getting with a second position, just to average in slightly, using smaller position sizes. So with that said, so I'm just watching what's going on with the DAX, getting distracted by the DAX again. I don't like this price action. I'm going to take one of these off. What's that? 0.7. So I've banked 0.7. Stop under that low, which is basically where my stop is on my other account, on my funded account. I'm going to let that one run for the target. See if we can get that hit. Looks like we're breaking out the highs now. I'm trying not to trade the DAX, but anyway, I am. There we go, we're off. See if we can hold those highs this time. So, ADRs, let's start with those. Aussie dollar CAD, M5, obviously we've hit ADR down to the lows. Looking at it on the hourly and 4 hourly, this isn't really in a particularly good area down here for support and resistance. So on this way up on the Aussie dollar, there's lots and lots of levels which we could take to be potential support and resistance areas. So lots and lots of areas where we've kind of got into in the past and have acted very nicely. So it's very difficult to pick a bounce point on something like this at the moment. We're coming down into a decent accumulation here. So if we're going to bounce somewhere down here, you've got to kind of look at where the strongest support and resistance is. So for me at the moment, this area here is where we've reacted multiple times in the past. So this would be the strongest, and this is way beyond 225 ADR today. Where we are right now at 150, we're likely to get a pullback up into here, aren't we? But there's no real strong support and resistance. This area here, really, we've tapped up into it, we've pushed through it, and it's not really a decent level. So not sure that this is necessarily where I want to be sort of taking a trade on this one, but it's very, very nicely extended. I'm really not sure what the reason is for this Aussie dollar collapse this morning. But there's some nice levels on some of these others being hit. So it's a difficult one to sort of look at trading at the moment. I want to be longing it, really. I kind of, there we go. Kind of want a long bias on this one, just moving to break even. Just protect it, just in case. Yeah, I want to kind of be longing them based on what's been happening recently with the Australian dollar. So I think this is probably just a big, strong pullback. The thing that worries me about all of these at the moment is we've had this big push, which started obviously when the war kicked in. All the money dived into the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. And then we went into this big, horrible range. So I'm just going to close that out on my other account. Just want to bank it. I've done $700 this morning on the DAX. So including that trade, so I just wanted to, that's done and dusted, can leave that alone now. Yeah, so basically just going into accumulation since we pushed up on that war effort, and now we've just broken back down to the lows. So typically I would say that's a buy cycle accumulation and we're going to go back into a sell cycle, but obviously nothing is typical at the minute. So we are approaching very good support here. So this is a good little long opportunity on the Aussie Swiss. If you're looking on lower time frames, reversal alert is just about to happen. Stop wise, obviously just stick it under the lows. So good opportunity to try a long here on the next reversal alert. If you want to take it on M5, you still haven't had one, you're just about to get one in a minute. Yeah, so very, very, very good risk reward on that. In fact, I might have a quick go on that with a very small position size. There we go, just got the reversal alert. Going long on that. tiny little stop on it. If you want to get in with multiple positions on this one, you need to look at where we are potentially going to get in with a second bounce. So where we are with the Aussie Swiss, I've moved from the Aussie CAD to the Aussie Swiss, by the way, just because there's better support on this one. If you look at where we are here, we are either going to bounce somewhere around here, aren't we? Which is where we are right now and where we've tapped straight into already. Or the only next logical stopping point is somewhere around there. So for me, this is kind of a one-shot going for this. It's either going to work or it's not. If it doesn't work, we're probably going to be coming all the way down there. But we're not going to do it like that, are we? So we're going to have some kind of accumulation in the middle before we drop down to the next level. So that, to me, looks like the best sort of play on the Aussie Swiss at the minute. Just a quick attempt to get back up into that area there. So fairly decent risk reward on that. But I wouldn't want to take a second position on it because it's just too far. If you did want to take a second position on it, obviously your first entry is going to be there. Your second entry is going to be somewhere in this region down here. So from that high there up to that low there, somewhere around that 67,270 level is probably where we're going to be heading if we're not going to get the bounce at this level here and push back up into there. This could well be a continuation of this range. Okay, so this range really started here. We pushed up, pulled back, pushed up, pulled back, pushed up, pulled back. What we've done is we've pulled back down into these lows this time instead of these lows. So we could well head straight back up there. Yeah, no reason why this isn't going to continue to do what it's been doing for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. So nice little range bound opportunity long. Aussie CAD, as I say, Aussie CAD, we've had that big drop on the Aussie. I can't really see any, and this is a lovely area of balance and accumulation here, which we've sat in multiple times, which is where we are again. We could well just do that and then drop. We could do that. We could bounce. So again, this is a good one as well. We're extended on the ADR, so you can drop down to M5. Just about to get a reverse alert on that on this candle. Got 2 minutes left on this candle. So yeah, again, same sort of thing. You could play it up into there, or you could go much higher, obviously, on this one. It's a lot further to go. There's lots of targets to the upside. Got that big 4-hour drop out of this accumulation, likely to be somewhere we aim for if we're going to continue on the next leg down. So Aussie CAD looks pretty good as well. Aussie CAD, Aussie Swiss. Yeah, so all these Aussies have all hit ADR, so we'll just whiz through all of these. Aussie dollar yen. Again, we've got a little area of support that we're approaching. Where we are at the moment, there's not really anything around here that says to me this is exactly where we should be bouncing from. I'd much rather see it get either down to here and either sweep that for liquidity and fly back up, or just basically accumulate and then push back down to there. But there's no real reason to take a trade at that particular level on the Aussie yen. The yens, let me just quickly flick through the yens while we're talking about the yens, just to see what impact that is, Australian dollar as opposed to yen. So yen, we've got some strength across the board. It's difficult to tell at the moment, isn't it? Because the euro's weak, the pound is weak. New Zealand and the Aussie are weak. Not a lot of movement on the US, so it's difficult to tell whether there's any yen strength in here at the minute. I would say probably ever so slightly, but you know, it's difficult to sort of call what's happening with the yen. Again, you know, look for levels with the Aussie. With all of these yens really for bounces, but Aussie yen not really in a position I wouldn't be taking anything from at the moment. Aussie New Zealand's coming into a nice accumulation where we could well easily get stuck. We just hit ADR on that. We bounced into the 24. So the 24 and the 72 moving averages are the quarterly and monthly moving averages on the daily chart. The main area of interest for me is down here. So looking to try and return and retest these levels here. Equally, we've got these little pockets of accumulation that the market could come and retest any single one of these. We're in one right now. So again, nice little opportunity for a long. Aussie New Zealand is the more difficult one to trade. It's got usually a fairly lower ADR, and obviously because these guys move in tandem together a lot of the time because they're close trading partners, we don't tend to get quite so much volatility. And as you can see, when one of them takes control, it stays in control, and there is no rule for which one it will be. You know, if the Aussie dollar economy gets strengthened up, that will stay strengthened. Not having that, so I just saw that on my other platform. Closing that at 1.5. You just know that's the gap fill done, and you just know what's going to happen, don't you? So taking that off, you watch it now and go, it doesn't matter anyway, my TP was there, so I'm not going to leave it running. But yeah, so I'm out of that DAX gap fill. Pretty much there. Yeah, so Aussie New Zealand, it's a long for me, just based on, obviously you can see it's a long. We're trending very, very nicely at the moment on this one. Obviously, this, like I say, this can all come to an end very, very, very abruptly at any point. But at the moment, that one, you want to be looking for long opportunities. So it's a pretty good spot to be looking to get in at the moment on this one. You've got a very nice double bottom at 150 ADR, which is this accumulation here, which they came back and retested twice. That would be better for me as an entry. So thing to do, I would say on this one, is look to stick a limit order somewhere in that region. Whoops, you can't see it on the hourly. Let's go back down on the day, 4 hourly rather. Yeah, so somewhere in this region down here. So this accumulation that we got stuck in for a couple of days, we came down and retested that area twice. We bounced off it a little bit there, but that's an overnight gap. So somewhere there would be very interesting if we can get down to there. So if you want to, you know, stick a little buy limit maybe down there, or just set an alert down there, and wait for price to get down there and look for a reversal alert as you get back down into that area, which isn't far away. Very easy for us to make that. Obviously, this is the Asian session. We've had a nice big drop on this. If we get a continuation drop on the Australian dollar during London, highly likely New York is going to reverse it. So 150 ADR would be a good spot for Aussie New Zealand. Aussie dollar, US dollar. Oh God, stop changing the wrong chart. Aussie dollar, US dollar obviously has come down very, very hard. US dollar's very, very difficult to read at the moment. COT report says short. COT report has said short on the US dollar for the last sort of 5 weeks or so. Pretty much since the war. I mean, this is where the war kicked off. We went short, but I don't think this is the market wanting to short the US dollar. I think this is the market getting scared and repositioning funds. So I'm not really sure on directional bias at all with the US dollar at the minute. I would want to say more long than short, just because there is so much weakness in all of the other currencies at the minute, the vast majority of them. Money's got to flow somewhere, and the US dollar is really where I would expect it to want to go. So if we're going to get continued strength on the US dollar, obviously all of this lot is going to continue to come down. But you have to say, you know, look how extended we are on the RSI. This thing is shot. It's massively, massively extended down to levels which, you know, we're down to the 85s. When we get to the 90s, it's pretty much a given within the next 24 hours you're going to get a pop. And that's exactly where we are at the moment, down here at 125 ADR. We're just tapping beautifully into a double bottom from 6 weeks ago as well. So this looks absolutely spot on for a long. But they've reached down for this so fast. I think we're definitely going to get some kind of bounce off of this level. And as you can see, it's already started to kick off. So looking at M5, we've had the reversal. At M15, you've just got it as well. If you give it like 3/4 of an ADR, you're probably going to be pretty safe on that. And just look for some kind of bounce back up into either this propulsion move here or potentially any of these. But this one is back above that support resistance level here. So if you look for where it's going to go, and this is what you should always be doing every time you take a trade, is not thinking, what do I want to make? Think, where is this going logically? Where is this thing likely to head? So if this is going to bounce from here and we're going to look to continue this market structure to the downside, yeah, where are we going? Somewhere in here. Where's the most logical area of recent support that should turn into resistance? That. Where's the closest gap to that? There. Yeah, so that would be the most logical area for this one to pull back into. And if you're a fib trader, you're going to be looking at that going, oh, look, there's a 61.8 retracement as well. Yeah, so that's really what you want to be doing, is looking for areas where you think price is going to be coming back to. That, for me, is the obvious spot. So that's where I would tend to stick my TP. And if you want to get out along the way, obviously you got a quick profit in there. Depends where you put your stop. You know, if you put a nice wide stop on it, you're going to want to get more. If you put a very, very tight stop on it, you could get out here, couldn't you, with a very nice risk reward. So, you know, make your mind up what you want to do and how you want to get into it. But that's really where I would look for some kind of bounce somewhere up there, assuming we make it up there. With this one as well, obviously, if this level doesn't hold, we're not going to get the bounce down here. So there's liquidity sitting under here. Yeah, they've just taken that liquidity. If they're going to run with that, you know, they could run like that. We have no idea, do we? But logically, that's probably where they're initially going to run to. If not, they're going to come down and hunt this. Yeah, so there's more liquidity down there. So if you wanted to take two positions on this, you could put a nice stop somewhere down there, and then look to enter a second position as we sweep these lows. So draw a little area down there, somewhere around there is where you would look for potentially another entry around 200 ADR. So you could take one there, second entry there. If it gets down to there today, yeah, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to you know, see what's going to happen if we get down to there today. You're going to get the bounce. So, and in fact, what's the risk on that? I'm going to stick a limit order down there as well. So I'm going to play this for two positions. Stop under 225 ADR. Yeah, take that initial position, go for that shot. Failing that, get into a second position, go for another long up there. Aussie US. Friday we filled a big FVG on UJ, seen on the 4-hour chart and lower. Sort of clears the path for a move lower. I don't know where you would see anything on this. This is just off to the moon and has been off to the moon for such a long time. I can't really see any. The thing with this, I don't think you'll find any technical analysis on anything to do with the yen at the moment is going to be any use whatsoever. We're waiting for Bank of Japan intervention on this. The yen is shot. We need them to step in and do something to give this yen any kind of strength. I don't think you'll find that it will really make any difference. We've pushed up. I guess that's the area you're talking about there. We've pushed up and completed that, which is great. So that gives us our M pattern reversal. We need to break these lows somewhere around these lows here. to potentially give us a move down. But this is only going to happen if BOJ step in and do something to power up the yen, or we get a massively weak US dollar for some reason. Other than that, I really don't see what they're trying to achieve with this at the minute. So, but yeah, technically, that looks spot on. Nice push back up into there and drop. So yeah, looks like a good one. For sure. It's just how do you get into it, you know? It's a difficult one to get into. We've basically pushed up on Monday last week, didn't we? And we accumulated for the entire week. So you really need to get in when that breaks down. Any entry you would take short in here. It's difficult to know where to put a stop because there's some, you know, if you stick a stop above the high, everybody's going to be having their stops above the high, and everybody's going to be looking for a liquidity run at those highs as well. And we're just stuck, aren't we, in this horrible little flag? So I'm really just the ends for me at the moment are just too much of a mystery. So yeah, Aussie US, done that one already. ADRs, nothing on the CADs. So CAD Swiss, there's no point in looking at the ADR dash. We'll just flick through everything. Look at the US dollar yen, look, monthly. 747 was 220. You know, we've done 225 ADR on that thing. It's like you're standing in front of a steam train. Steam train? Bigger train than that. Trying to get a trade on that thing at the moment. DAX is just coming down to retest. Any of you interested? So again, we've got this nice gap. We're just retesting at the moment. So if we're going to continue market structure this morning, we're looking for a pullback somewhere between the opening range low and those highs. That's the next level of potential support if we're going to continue for longs this morning. So the CADs, Canadian dollar has flipped back long on the COT report. The Canadian dollar, obviously, we should be seeing strength across the board on the CAD. It's had good news recently. We've got oil prices rising. It's a big oil. It's linked to oil. So no reason, I don't think, why we shouldn't be still looking for long opportunities on the CAD. This area here is obviously very interesting. So there's our high and there's our previous high. We've rejected it quite a few times and accumulated there and then slammed through. So it's looking really good from a technical perspective for a continuation long bounce here. Failing that, coming back down to the 24, by the time it gets down to there, we'll be somewhere in this region anyway, where we'd be expecting a new long opportunity to come in as well. So CAD Swiss looks good for longs. You can take an opportunity to go long there, or you could wait for it to come back down to these lows. If you get in here and you get in there, your stop's going to want to be somewhere down here, and then look for new highs on that one. Personally, I don't think I'm not going to take that one myself, but it's in a good spot. So dropping down, looking for reversal alerts on it. As we get into here, I'd much rather see it in here, and ideally come and take that liquidity somewhere around ADR. That would be spot on for a long today on that one, I think, if we could get down there. CAD Yen, again, not interested in any yens at the minute. I want to see, with all the yen pairs, what I want to see is a 4-hour reversal alert, nicely retested, a new low put in, a pullback, and then start to drop. Yeah, so I want to see that sort of price action. Yeah, breaking these lows, pulling back up into them, and then looking bearish. I want to see this thing actually putting in solid market structure, which is holding. Every time we think, oh, look, it's about to go, what does it do? Runs into the previous accumulation and bounces. Previous accumulation at the moment is here. It's a very crap one as well. I mean, it's just so hard to read the yen at the minute, and with the strength of everything against it, you've got to have a lot of conviction to short this thing. So this is where I'd be looking for a potential long opportunity somewhere down at ADR. Any yens basically that hit ADR lows are probably worth having a look at a long opportunity. See if you're at a level that makes logical sense to trade from, and go for long opportunities at them. Same with the Swiss yen. So we're just about to get a reversal alert on the 4 hour. We had one not last week, the week before, which got invalidated. You can see my short entry. I got stopped out on that one there just before it tanked. It tanked straight into support. So, again, this one, that high, down to that high there. Yeah, somewhere in that region, I'd be interested, which is kind of what we just hit today. We just hit ADR on it. I want to see it get in here and show some signs of strength. So looking on M15, you'd want, again, some price action down here, decent reversal alert, maybe a retest, nice W formation, and then this thing could just go. So we will see on that one. But yeah, I'm not looking for any longs on that. Euros, all euros I'm short, so I've got a euro odd short on, which I took last week. I'm on 3 positions on it now. I've just taken another one this morning on this, because we are now up. We hit ADR basically, which is why I took the short. We had this massive strong push. Obviously, we got a weak Australian dollar at the minute, and the euro's not doing too bad. But look at it on the 4 hour. We are off to the moon at the minute. So I've just taken another short on this. I'm short bias on the euro and will remain short bias on the euro until something changes fundamentally for the euro. Yeah, no reason, I don't think, why we shouldn't keep going all the way down. And obviously with what's going on in the Ukraine at the moment, there's going to be further strain put on euro finances. Potentially if they get dragged into the war, that's going to put more strain on. There's just so many negatives for the euro that it's very hard to look at longs. So for me, this is RSI. If we get extended on RSI on this is still where I want to be getting in, and that's exactly where we are now. So I'm short on the euro odd. Levels, I took one here initially because I thought we were going to chop into this accumulation and bounce out of that accumulation because we were extended on the RSI. We pushed up. I took a second position at that high, and then I said, right, okay, we'll see what happens on Monday. We've obviously had the weak Australian dollar, which has pushed us up for another last, hopefully, spike. So this is my final position on this one. I will stop out somewhere. If we push up to 175 ADR or so today, I'll be out of it, because there's nothing really else that I can see for us to tap into at the moment. And there is the danger, obviously, if you're wrong on it, you're wrong on it, and it's just going to, for some reason, fly. Since we had the war, obviously all the rumours of war and then the war kicking off, obviously we can see that's the week the war kicked off. The euro absolutely tanked. So this level here, which is pre-war, which obviously we were dropping, that is really, this little accumulation is where I would suspect, if we are going to continue to the upside, that we'll probably go for. So they just undo this entire move. We've got a high here also to aim for as well, and obviously we've got that little peak there, which is way up there, but I don't think that's really in play anymore. That's been invalidated twice. We've slammed through it twice, so I don't think that's really in play, that bit. This is where I would look for obviously liquidity to be, so that's where I would imagine they will aim for if they're not going to go all the way back up. So but I'm obviously short on this one now, and I'm looking, as you can see, TPs are down here at the moment. When we get back down to the support rectangle, which is above this accumulation, if we're going to continue to the upside, market structure would say that you're going to do that. So I would look for us to bounce somewhere around this accumulation. So I'm getting out before we get down to that accumulation, basically. EuroCAD, same thing. We've bounced off the 24 beautifully. Swiss yen's just hit ADR. Beautiful double top bounce at the 24. The 24, it loves it, doesn't it? EuroCAD. Market structure is just like a textbook. If you wanted market structure lesson, high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, double top. Quite often double top is before a change in market structure, but continuation to the downside is very, very likely as well. So we've got ADR, RSI extension at the 24 at resistance, which has previously been very, very supportive. Just ticks all the boxes, and as you can see, we had that lovely big move. That was late Friday, so unless you were trading the Asian session, you'd have struggled to get into this. But yeah, beautiful textbook. Doesn't always work that way, does it? But that one is textbook. DAX just bounced off support. Any of you watching it? So yeah, where this is going, your guess is as good as mine on this. If it breaks these lows, wherever it wants to go. With these sorts of strong trending pairs, you kind of want to do like measured moves on them. So look at what the last move was. Oops. I don't want daily high low. I want a trend line. The hell. There we go. So yeah, look at kind of measuring the moves. So that's the last move down that we had there. Pop it on, have a look, and see where we think it might go. Market moves in measured moves. Yeah. So have a look at where we're going. That's where my TP would be on this one. Because you've got no references below, we're so low on it. It's very difficult to, you've got nothing this way to look at here to say, right, we may well bounce from there. Where's it going to go? Don't know. Look at where it's been last 2 times. It's done a big move to the downside, and that's really all you can use to measure it. So for me, somewhere down 133,900, so 134 basically is where that's probably going to head to, if that is going to continue in the current market structure to the downside. So looks pretty good for a short if you're in it. If you're not in it, it's quite tricky to get into this one. You'd need to wait for some kind of pullback. Obviously, you've got a lovely big propulsion gap to pull back into there and come down. There's lots of areas that we're potentially heading for that we could bounce at. So yeah, looking for short entries on that one. EuroCAD. Nice DAX bounce. That's going to be the key point today. See if we can. I think we may well double top up here. We'll have a look at the DAX in a minute, but I'm short on the DAX. So that's EuroCAD. Euro Swiss, obviously, as you know, I'm short on already. This one's just pulling back at the minute. We've had a nice pullback, nice push back down to 100 ADR. Should have really taken some of this off, but we've pulled into the accumulation basically, which is where we find some buyers. If we get these lows broken, which is what I'm holding out for, I think we'll be off to the downside on it. So pullbacks, looking for shorts on that. Very, very nicely extended on the RSI of this accumulation. We had fallback levels here. So if we do push up for any reason, this is where we're probably going to be aiming for. And that's where we should be looking for our next bounce short. But I'm going to keep an eye on this. In fact, I might actually... should really have taken some profit off of that this morning. Might take one off. Just going to see what we do here. There's a lot of buying and selling in this area, so we could well accumulate and drop. That's what I'm planning for, but equally there's a high probability we're going to pull back up into this area here. So again, if you want to look for shorts on this, this area here, anywhere in there really. It's a fairly big zone, isn't it? So we've got down to these lows, we've bounced many times, and today we slammed it. So if we're going to retest, price will retest to discover whether or not it can continue short. It will come up to there and it will drop back down again. So anywhere in this sort of zone is where I would look for shorts if you want to get into this one, into Euro Swiss, which is basically where I've got my second position at the moment anyway. So that's looking good. Euro Swiss. Euro pound. Euro pound is a hard one. I'm not really trading Euro pound at the minute. It's too weak. You've got a weak currency against a weak currency at the moment, and with weak against weak, you tend to get accumulation and range bound activity. So it's great for range trading, but it's very erratic. The range is not very well defined. There's a lovely defined range low here, but we are breaking out of it quite regularly. And right now, where we are, we're up there, aren't we? We're kind of equidistant. So your guess is as good as mine where we're going. I would assume more likely we're going up, because that's the way that we're heading. And in a range, obviously, you tend to bounce up, down, up, down, up, down. So heading up to these highs. So somewhere up at these highs, looking for short opportunities on this one, if it gets there. Very nice extended on the RSI. So, every time we get extended on the RSI on this, it's basically looking for opportunities to go the opposite direction. So mean reversion heaven on this at the minute. We're not getting them all the time. They're not always working, obviously. If they always work, we'd be millionaires, wouldn't we? So range bound activity on this right now is just in no man's land at the minute. This could well be where we get the next drop down start from for the next week. So we could just drop from here. Who knows? We've got big propulsion gaps to the downside to aim for as well. So kind of like, I like it for a range bound, but I don't trade range bound entries in the middle of a range. You need to wait till you're at an extreme. Euro pound, nothing really exciting there. Euro yen, again, same thing on the euro yen. Right now, this looks like a lovely long. We've tapped beautifully into these highs and rejected. So lovely long euro yen. I'm just not trading the yen at the minute. It's showing every now and again. It just shows these signs of we might be strengthening or accumulate. Then we push up for another leg, and then we go, actually no, we're going short, and then it just flies. Especially with the yen on Thursday. Obviously, we've got Kuroda speaking on Thursday. The outlook. So every chance that thing could fly one way or the other. So I don't really want to be in it at the minute. Euro New Zealand, beautiful bounce off of a double top at the moment. So missed it. There's your reversal alert on M15 and M5 this morning. Very nice bounce at those highs. Again, looking for shorts. If you get a pullback on, if you want to get into this one short, this is a lovely area to take this short from. As you can see, this is a really good level of support resistance. There's the big drop with the war. We bounced, made a new low. We've just come back up and double topped. So either way, whether it's going to go that way or whether it's just going to continue there, this is where you're potentially looking for your bounce. So you need to wait really for a retest and drop. Big propulsion gap for it to come up and retest this morning, and then somewhere down there back into this accumulation. So target on this, you're going to want to get out probably somewhere around 175 ADR down there. So good looking short, just missed it really this morning. But if it does pull back, that's really what I would be looking for. Euro New Zealand. Euro US dollar, want to be short on it. It's right down at the lows at the minute. So we are extended towards ADR. I'll be looking for short entries on this. So very hard to tell where you're going to pull back into on this one. just, yeah, can't really see an entry on it. Lovely bounce at the 24, which is this accumulation high here. So we tapped up into there, we tapped up again, we respected it again. So I just can't see anywhere to getting short on this one at the minute. So just leaving it alone. We've got no real US dollar news this week that could act as a market catalyst. So whatever you're trading on this, you kind of just get in and hope you get a decent risk reward out of it. But I'd be looking for short opportunities. Loads of targets to the upside. So if we get up to sort of around this area, potentially that'd be a nice little short up there. And by the time you get up there, you'll be extended on. You probably won't actually. It's gonna be very hard work to get up to an RSI extension on this one, I think. We're expecting strength US dollar and euro weakness, so maybe even there short it. Don't know, but I'm not trading it. Pound odd. So the pound odd is back up in the 24.72 range. This is the Australian dollar weakness that we've had, which has pushed this up another leg. Same as the pound, same as the euro odd. This is where I was expecting to get some kind of reaction. On Friday, basically, we tapped up and we pretty much stopped there. So this morning was a case of you'd have to get up very early to get into this one. But this is exactly the same. If you look at the euro odd, yeah, look at the pound odd. They're the same thing. When you're trading euro and pound, if you go short euro odd, you go short pound odd, you're doubling your exposure because these things are moving pretty much the same. So again, war drop, point of no return. This area I don't think is in play anymore. So this is the accumulation here, this accumulation here, and these support areas. Exactly where we are now is exactly where I would expect it to drop. So I'm in the euro odd version of the pound odd, same thing. Aussie New Zealand 125 ADR. Really weak Australian dollar this morning. Oh, that's sorry, that's New Zealand dollar strength we just got coming through now. So big strong New Zealand dollar push at the minute going on. So pound odd, pound CAD has just broken out to new lows. So be looking for some kind of pullback potentially up into resistance. So this one. So that kind of zone there. We're looking for pullbacks up into there and then look for reversal alerts short on lower time frames as we pull up. So looking for reverse alerts just to get in short somewhere in there. Nice ADR bounce. The other flip side of the coin on this is that this is a liquidity run of these lows. So we've pushed down very, very hard and we've gone into an accumulation which has lasted for 4 weeks. We have just put in a sweep of the lows last week, which for any of you that know Wyckoff, that would be your Wyckoff spring. What we would expect to happen is a trade back up to the highs, an accumulation and a breakout to the highs. We didn't. We've come down and swept again. So there is potential that this whole area is the accumulation and this is the Wyckoff spring going in now. So we could be looking at that sort of movement. Personally, I'd rather continue looking for shorts on the pound. Again, pound isn't looking good, not strong. I don't think there's any reason we should be looking particularly for strength in the pound. So going to get pushed around by the Canadian dollar, which is obviously very, very strong at the moment. So pullbacks and then short opportunities. So somewhere in that region, 62940, 62,660 roughly. Somewhere around there, potentially for shorts. And obviously stop above. And target, your guess is as good as mine. This thing could come down wherever it wants to. So you've got to go back a long way to find support on this. Somewhere back down April 2019, May 2019. So this area obviously is where we are not interested in trading below the vast majority of the time. Again, somewhere around that 1.6 level on the pound CAD is where we would expect to find some kind of support on the daily. So it's got plenty of room to the downside to go at the moment. Pound Swiss, again, Pound Swiss, a bit of a mess. As you can see, we are right down at a lovely support area. Sorry, we have been down at a lovely support area, which we're approaching at the moment. I'd be interested in longs from down there, but at the moment, the pound is weak. The Swiss franc is not really powering up at all, so we are really stuck without that Swiss franc strength at the moment. So pound, I can't see really powering up at all. Therefore, look at it for range-bound opportunities. If you go, obviously, look at the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. We're not going anywhere. Accumulating, yeah. Since the war started, everything is weak or range-bound, apart from the yen. So that's what we want to be looking at. These highs and these lows, and this is where we want to be getting in. Points of logical bounces, where we're high probability of bouncing and a high probability of the target being the other side. So if we can push back down to there, that would be a lovely little opportunity for a long. So take that probably there, all the way down to that low. So there's your support sort of range. Anywhere down there, be looking for reversal alerts and looking to trade anywhere back up to those highs. We could obviously, here's a good example actually, what I was talking about with the big propulsion moves that sometimes will just take weeks to play out. This one's taking weeks to play out. That one there, we will come back up and test that at some point. Could do it any time. Pound New Zealand ADR, so that's a massive move on the New Zealand dollar that we're seeing going in at the minute. So yeah, Pound Swiss is not really in any area that I'm particularly interested in at the moment. Pound Yen, not interested in Pound Yen. If you are interested in the Pound Yen, this one has actually broken down, but you know, it shows you how weak the pound is. We broke back down below that potential support. We are tapping into this accumulation at the minute. This is kind of where I'd expect to get a bounce. So pushing up from the 24 for long opportunities. At least back up into where we had the reversal alert last time. We've got that lovely propulsion gap there, potentially for shorts out of there as well. So probably, I don't want to trade the yen personally, but if you're long on it and you're remaining long on it, this is where you want to be getting in. If you're waiting for those short opportunities, like I am, that's where I would want to be getting in, somewhere up there. But yeah, it's just, I can't really trade the yen at the moment, especially this week with Kuroda on Thursday. Just want to be waiting to see what is said there as to what's going to happen. That might not be a bad one to trade news-wise, actually. The trouble with the BOJ Outlook report is they don't give you a time, and it varies wildly, anything from 2 o'clock in the morning till sort of 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, UK time. So you can't really time it either. You just got to keep your wits about you and keep looking at the news. So watch Financial Juice on Thursday morning and wait for something to start happening. But I think we get some decent movement on Thursday and Friday on the yen. Pound New Zealand's just hit ADR. Obviously New Zealand dollar is pushing very, very hard at the moment. That was your entry up there, unfortunately. Happened this morning. So yeah, it's this one, pound odd and euro odd. Sorry, pound New Zealand and euro New Zealand. Very, very, very similar. They're the same thing again. So take one or the other, so you don't double up. Just done a liquidity run last week of those highs. We broke back down below. We've put in a lovely M pattern. So we haven't had a reversal on it, but I'm short on the pound. This is where I would have looked to take the trade from at the beginning of last week, or potentially there, and obviously it pushed up. So I'm in the Euro odd, and again, the odd and the New Zealand are pretty much the same thing. So if you're going to trade either Euro odd, Euro New Zealand, pound odd, or pound New Zealand, just trade one of those pairs. If you trade two of those pairs, you're just doubling up on your risk. So I'm in Euro odd short, but it's all the same stuff, looking for shorts. So at the moment we are just coming back down to the lows of this accumulation somewhere. So when we get back down to these sorts of lows and that high, that's where I would be looking potentially for some kind of reaction. Could be range bound, could just be a bounce and then a drop. Lovely drop there, which we came back up straight into and retested. So again, think of limit orders. Yeah, the market pushed up, took out this liquidity up there. Everybody that jumped in short there, they had their stops there. Everybody that jumped in short from up at those highs when they took that liquidity had their stops there. They came up, they took the whole lot out, and they ran away with it. What did everybody do when they jumped in short? Put their liquidity up at the highs. Everybody that jumped in short here added to their positions here, and we've now obviously driven down. So this is a beautiful M pattern reversal. So just waiting for pullbacks to continue that short. So the market structure shifted short now. Again, if you want to measure the moves, measured moves work very, very well. You want to be getting out down here very soon. That would be a good place potentially to take a long, but we're only going to pull back somewhere into there potentially and add to those positions probably. So yeah, short on all these anyway. The pound New Zealand, pound odd, Euro New Zealand, and Euro odd. Pound US dollar. Again, the majors at the moment are very difficult to trade. What we seem to be doing is either going into accumulation, and you're getting these big, strong, fast moves, which make it very difficult to get into them. RSIs are a choppy mess at the moment, and Euro US dollar is very, very similar to this one. We've obviously had a big move out to the downside, which started on Friday. Big sell-off on Friday, end of the month is this week, so they're starting to sort of position themselves for end of month reporting and profit taking and making loads of money as they do. So big push down, looking for a pullback and looking for continuation short. So you can't really pick a low on it. Difficult to know where this is going to turn from. So I would be looking for any kind of pullback up into this zone here for a short. So you've got to wait basically and be patient. So these that's the initial propulsion move. So that's the one I would really love to see hit. So this is a multi-day accumulation, and then the market just went boom away with it. Yeah. This is obviously big institutional moves to the downside. When the market gets back to this area, they'll be looking to add to their shorts. There'll be limit orders sitting in there ready to go at all these lows. So that's a short opportunity up there somewhere. New Zealand's have all flown out the gates this morning. So big correction starting. Missed that. Down there. So yeah, lovely bounce starting there. New Zealand dollar, this is obviously the Canadian dollar has been stomping all over everything at the moment in the last week. New Zealand dollar has been pretty weak. But obviously we had that big strong run up on the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar when the Ukraine war kicked off in March. But obviously because oil prices shot through the roof, the CAD started to strengthen, which sent the New Zealand dollar CAD into this accumulation. And we put that obviously symmetrical triangle on there, which broke lovely to the downside. Obviously continuing with the normal trend. So we're approaching areas of potential interest down here now. So this zone at the bottom here, and we've got that support. We've got this area of support which we've just bounced off now. So this is potentially where we will be looking for a pullback, but I think it's just going to be a pullback for shorts. So looking at where we're going to the upside, be looking for short opportunities somewhere. It's impossible to tell, isn't it? Literally, you pick a low. Very hard to pick a spot. That is probably your strongest support resistance zone up here at 200 ADR. Equally, we've got accumulations all over the place. So literally anywhere this could go to the downside. If we get to pull all the way back up to there, I mean, that's going to take a week to get up there. So you want to be long on it and sitting in it. But I'm really looking much more interested in looking for shorts on this. RSI is not really going to give you any clues on the hourly. You're not going to get up there, I don't think. So hard to pick an entry on this one. If you want to go down to lower time frames, really, that's probably your best bet. Is look at the support and resistance on the lower time frames. It's no more clues there, is there? Really, pick a level. No idea. Somewhere up there, it's probably going to bounce to the downside. But if in doubt, stay out. New Zealand dollar Swiss. Beautiful bounce off of support. Lovely support area. Nice accumulation there, which we broke to the upside. Came back, retested, and bounced. Again, just a massive range at the moment up here. Why am I on a highlighter? So we just had to bounce there, missed it this morning. There was your reversal alert this morning on M5 and M15. You had the same. So where are we going? Again, you got this 2-day drop which is just very, very orderly, but very fast. So you could well just run up into the lows of Friday, as we're doing at the minute, and bounce down from there. So that's a good level of potential resistance. But I'd be looking for shorts, I think, against on the New Zealand dollar. So although this is a lovely bounce, I'd be much more inclined to stay in line with the current trend, which is a very slight down channel. So I'd be looking for these sorts of areas. But it's very difficult to, again, all these New Zealanders, it's very difficult to pick a spot. That was kind of the best trade this morning down here, but didn't see it. So I'm always in doubt, Diamond says. Yeah, if in doubt, stay out. If you're always in doubt, don't trade. Which you can't do, unfortunately. Everybody's in doubt. If we didn't have doubt, again, I keep saying it, we would all be millionaires, wouldn't we? If we knew, we'd just be millionaires, but we don't know. So you're always going to have doubt, and that's where your risk management comes into it. So I doubt that's going to hold. But let's put it right on the bottom of that wick. So if you saw it getting down to 100 ADR today, and you thought, I'm going to wait for a reversal alert to get in long on it, which you're just about to get, that is your entry right now. There's always going to be a doubt, because this is going to potentially come down and take you out a second time. But that's where your risk reward comes into it. So if you get in right now there, we got 48 seconds left on this candle. We're about to get a reversal alert. Stop, give it a little bit of room in case they come down and double bottom it and just take out everybody that's stuck their stops directly underneath their lows. You got a lovely target all the way back up into this accumulation, haven't you? But there's always going to be a doubt. It's a lovely accumulation there. So that is one massive resistance area. So, but look at the risk reward on it. It's lovely. But the doubt is never going to go. There is nothing that you can do about that. You just got to get in and get out and hope that you get a higher strike rate. So just watching the DAX. So I got out obviously on the gap fill. We are accumulating now down here at these highs. So the pre-Frankfurt open highs where we initially rejected and broke, we're just accumulating down here. So I've got a feeling, if you look at this low here, there's a load of buying going on down here by the looks of things. I've got a feeling we're going to come back up for a second leg. So just taking a quick long on that. Stop, cancel. So going to go buy stop above that high on this account as well. Initial target, probably come back up into these lows where we are basically. It's just a little sort of scalp long. So I'm just trying to calculate something in my head. Which is always very difficult. 6. There. Sorry. So yeah, so looking for a little scalp long on that. New Zealand dollar yen, yeah, so we just covered that one. So yeah, it's obviously massive range. We're down at the lows. You've got a very high chance of coming somewhere up into these highs. Where? No idea. Equally, at some point, the yen is going to power up, and this is just going to slam through this support, which means it's coming back down into this accumulation here, somewhere around the 72. So I'm not going to trade the yen. So New Zealand dollar, US dollar bounce. Have we looked at this one already? Support, which I had drawn in, we bounced at. This area of interest up here is where I would look personally to start getting into shorts. So if you want to take it long, obviously it's very nicely extended on the RSI. If you look at the RSI dashboards at the moment, there's a lot extended on the Australians and on the New Zealands, on the 4 hour and on the hourly. Very, very big extensions all over the place. You know, everything that's massively extended has got the Australian dollar or the New Zealand dollar in it at the minute. So these two are absolutely being manipulated to death at the moment. And obviously we know that when we get extensions on RSI, the market eventually has to give up and take profit on its moves. And that's what we're seeing, hopefully starting to unravel now. But I don't really want to take a profit take move. I'd much rather wait until we get up there and try and get in on this trend. So this is the last 3 weeks. Obviously we are trending down. That's where I'd be looking if we're going to continue this trend, to be jumping in. But we're equally hitting a load of potential support areas down here where we could easily bounce back up towards the highs. So again, that's the doubt, isn't it? Every time you take a trade, when you get in, you have to look at every entry and go, what is going to happen? You have to visualize. Well, our job is to look at what we can see on the chart there and go, where are they going? We need to think, where's the banks going to take price next? If they're going to take it lower, they're going to go down to there. How are they going to get there? They can't get there from this because we're already too extended. They need liquidity to drive the market. Where are they going to find liquidity? Well, this is where we had previous bounces. So there's going to be orders up here. So they're going to aim for that area if they're going to take it down to there. It's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to push down to there in one go. The other option is they're going to hold it like this, and they're going to go long, short, long, short, long, short, and they're going to take all the liquidity from everybody on the lower time frames, getting stopped out and stopped out and stopped out constantly down here. So they just take it into an accumulation, and then they'll take it short. if they're going to go long, where are they going to go to? Well, where they went to last time a couple of times. They're going to go long there. You just got to forward think, where is the market going? And that is where you are going to target. Yeah. So initially you need to be thinking, where's it going? That's my target. Now, have I got an opportunity to get into a trade? If you think you've got a good risk reward, yeah. There's more reward there than there is risk. Tick. If it fails, you could go short, because you know if they're going short, likelihood is they're going to take it down to there. So if you get stopped out, get in short. It's all you can do. There's always going to be the doubt, and the doubt is we don't know where they're going. That doubt is never going to be removed from the market. We don't know where they're going. No one knows. Not even the best trader in the world. Warren Buffett hasn't got a clue where this is going. He doesn't trade it, but if he did trade it, he wouldn't have a clue. What he has got is good risk management, and that's what it's all about. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, long at the moment. As I say, I'd be looking to enter short up there somewhere, ideally. US dollar CAD. This has flown out the highs. Canadian dollar, obviously, was very, very strong. We've had this big unearthly move that, this is the problem. You can't get in. It just goes so fast. We got down to support. We bounced very, very nicely. There's a couple of areas, there's lots of areas down here, but this was the main support, obviously, down here, which we bounced at very, very nicely. So you couldn't envisage it going that fast and that hard. So most people would have got out somewhere around there. Lovely little V-shaped recovery. Where this is going now is a bit of a mystery. Obviously, the recent highs are up here. So anywhere up in this sort of zone is kind of where I would look to take it. What on earth are you doing? Do it that way. So somewhere up in that area is where I would start looking for short opportunities. So we stalled there in the past. We've just smashed through these highs, so this isn't a liquidity run. This is they've run it high. So we're coming back up into all this chop where the market's been very happy. Nice big area of balance, which we lasted in for like 6-7 weeks. We're back up here again, so we're either going to get the same sort of thing happening, or we're going to aim for that area. If we're going to aim for that area, highly unlikely they're going to be able to do it this week, are they? Because last week they put in the mother of all moves. So they've run out of liquidity. So I think basically with that one, we need to think. Just stopped out on that long I took on the DAX. I didn't get into it on this account. I just got out of it on my other account. It's dropping down. We are just coming down to this sort of potential double bottom, but these still got a minute left on this candle, but it looks like it's more bearish. So all this buying seems to have stopped. So I'm just going to cancel that off. Sorry, US dollar CAD. So I'd be looking for shorts on this one this week. Somewhere down into these highs. Down here. So we've got a big propulsion move out of this accumulation there. We've got a tiny little accumulation in here when we ran into all these lows. And then we slammed through again. So we've got a much bigger propulsion gap here. So we've got this area here and this area here potentially to aim for to the downside. And then I think probably aiming up here. These highs here and these highs here are where we've stalled a couple of times. We stalled there 3 times. We stalled there twice. So this zone, if it's going to be a very shallow pullback, that's where we would be looking for longs. If it's going to be a deeper pullback, somewhere in this accumulation, anywhere in there really, would be where we'd be looking longs. So the options here are to wait for market to pull back down into here. So 100% ADR move to the downside today, and then look for a reversal alert long. If you wanted to take 2 positions, you could enter one somewhere in here when you get a reversal alert, and then another one somewhere around there. If these fail, we're probably coming down here, aren't we? So you want to get out, really, if we break down below this level, somewhere around here. Again, it's just really choppy wiki mess at the minute. But yeah, so that's what I'd be looking for. So, you know, you could stick limit orders in there if you wanted to. Or wait for the reversal alerts when you get down there. So wait for signs of strength to come through when you get down to those areas. So on M15, that's your initial area for pullbacks. Failing that, it would be that accumulation there. That's the propulsion gap on the hourly here. So somewhere in here, and then stop out if we break back below this accumulation. So yeah, US dollar CAD. Might stick a little alert in there just so I know when we get there. And obviously these highs could hold those highs. You know, there's lots of areas of we never know where price is going to bounce from, which is why, you know, support and resistance is always an area somewhere around here. Would be lovely. We occasionally bounce to the pip. You know, we go very often. We'll go 3 or 4 pips either side, but the vast majority of the time we'll move up into an area somewhere and move away from an area. So that area there we moved into, didn't hit it to the pip, we moved into that area, and then the buyers stepped back in again because the buyers pushed it up last time from this area. So that's what I'll be looking for, somewhere around there on US dollar CAD. Again, news wise this week, we've got tomorrow we've got durable goods and consumer confidence for the US dollar, not a lot else. So yeah, US dollar CAD, US dollar Swiss, US dollar Swiss. What have I got drawn on my chart on US dollar Swiss? What's that drawn from US dollar Swiss? Seems to be coming off of that low very nicely. Yeah, so it's that area. So potentially, obviously we had this big move on the US dollar. If we look at this one, let's go back to where we were looking at last week. So last week I was looking for a pullback. So when we got up to these highs on Monday last week, I was looking for a pullback to give them that move up into the highs, which they've got up to now. What they actually did last week was slam straight through it without pulling back and then move all the way up there. So we've actually got to where I was expecting them to go to, but we didn't get the pullback, which I was hoping. So I was hoping they were going to pull back into this propulsion area here and then fly out of there, but they didn't. So the fact that we got there last week after such a strong move, which you would expect them to do some kind of pullback on, I would say much higher likelihood that we're going to get some downside on this one this week. So this area here, failing that, coming back down to where I was expecting them to come down to. So this area of support or resistance, which they broke through, added to support twice and then pushed up. So we're either going to do that, we're going to do that, or we're going to do that. Either way, I'd be looking for shorts. So this morning, you're just about to get a reversal alert out of that area. M5, you just had one. So it started to go short already. M15, you're just about to get one. And then there are so many spots we could come down to on this US dollar Swiss, isn't there? It's very difficult to know where we're going to come down to. So I would probably initially pick here. So this propulsion gap, where we had this accumulation off of this support, then we made that new high. This is the move that broke the high. This is the accumulation before that. So this is where they built up their orders in here and then ran it. So that is where I would initially expect us to come back down to. Failing that, obviously this is now established itself as a very strong support level, 94,600. So there is where I would expect to come down to. So target wise, you can take your pick. You can either go for there somewhere and just get out before we get back down to this level. Obviously the big one is going to be down here, so that would be kind of your TP3, your TP2, TP1 if you wanted to use multiple TPs. But so getting in short there. If we're going to continue to the upside, it's daily levels we're looking at here. Any of this can act as resistance. So obviously that is the initial rejection. It could well push up into there and then come back out. So second entries on it, I'd probably look towards the high of this range. So if we do push up further on this one, I'd wait and take a second reversal alert somewhere up at 100, 125, 150 ADR as a second entry, and then stop out somewhere up there. And yeah, I mean, downside is very difficult, but I'll have a look at it when it started to play out, and just see what my P&L is looking like really, as to whether I want to take it off or leave it on. But looks good. We just taken out yesterday's high beautifully this morning as well. So all the liquidity of everybody that got in short at the end of Friday, because obviously we made a new high Friday. We finished on the high on the weekly candle. Yeah. So everybody that is trading weekly will have seen that. If anybody's playing a reversal on the weekly, they've just been liquidated. So yeah, 3 solid weeks of upward movement. Needs a drop. We're very extended on the RSI on the daily, and obviously we are extended on the 4 hourly. We've not extended on the hourly anymore, but we are extended on the 4 hour. So yeah, looks good. Then US dollar yen, which I'm not interested in. Don't know. US dollar and yen will often move in tandem. That's not happening at the minute. We're in an uptrend. So basically, I would say we want to look for continuation uptrends until they come out with the Bank of Japan and say something to the contrary. So who knows? This is the accumulation, which is where the support rectangle is currently drawn, that I would look for potential longs. And then obviously we've got multiple levels to look at for bounces to the upside. Difficult to tell where this is going, but I'm waiting until Thursday and see what the see what Kuroda says about the outlook for the yen. So that's it for FX pairs. Excuse me. Gold, I don't trade, but anybody that does, this is exactly why I don't trade it. And I did trade it, didn't I? Profster's not in here, are you, Profster? You made me take that trade. I don't trade gold because gold defeats me all the time. We've got lovely support resistance zone right here. Yeah. So this is where you should be looking for long opportunities, because this is where the market has found support for the last 6 weeks. So long, right now, long. You've just had a reversal out on M15. That's the one you should have taken. And you've had a beautiful retest W, just long. If I take it, I'm not going to take it, because if I take it, that'll happen. So I'm not going to take it. So if you want to take this, take it. Targets, obviously you've got these lows here where we rejected, we came back down, retested, rejected, we came back down. Buyers stepped in again there but got defeated. So that is initially where I would expect there to be potentially some limit orders and some TPs, which is this level here. Yeah, so that is your initial TP. So stop, entry, reward, simples. Obviously, this could go wherever it wants. But this is where we were looking. I was saying for weeks because it's doing the same thing every week, I felt like a stuck record on this thing. When we broke those highs, I was like, look for a pullback, look for longs. And it just kept going in accumulation. We finally got that breakout. I was like, brilliant, look for pullback longs. And that's what I took, that one there, here. I took this bounce. Yeah, I took that bounce there. And of course, because I took it, it collapsed. So we were looking for a continuation long on gold, because obviously with what's going on in Ukraine, we get the money flooding into the metals usually. It just hasn't happened. So we did get it when the war kicked off. Oops. We had rumour of war, and the whole thing got undone. Exactly the same as oil. Exactly the same thing has happened to oil. Yeah, rumour of war, undone. And then oil pushed up and everyone was like, yep, we're definitely going to 140 a barrel. And it's just done the same thing. So, this is what I mean. The market is in just turmoil at the moment. It's very difficult to tell what is going on with anything. So you just got to get in, get your risk rewards, and just try and take trades at logical areas. Use support resistance. It's not rocket science, is it? This is where it bounced from last time. For days and days and days and days on end, and previous to that it bounced there multiple weeks in the past. Long it, hold it, all you can do. Indices. So Friday we finished on the DAX with a big downside. Obviously I played the gap fill this morning, which worked to a T. Still bearish, everything, index. Bearish market, bearish the world. Everything's going wrong. So, yeah, bearish. This was looking as if it was potentially starting to recover. We got this, obviously the bear market started and then we pushed back. So we had our little Santa rally in December, which we always get across the indices. And then we put in a new low and everyone was like, whoa, what's going on here? And then we came down and then it was like, right, we're calling a bear market and we're calling a collapse. We then pulled back. So I'd be looking again for an equidistant move, an equal move on what we had previously, from where we have pulled back to, which is there. So if we are in this bear market, that is what I think we're going to continue to do. I haven't got any more data than that. I'm always short bias on the indices. Where we've pulled down to, we've pulled back down into support here. We've gapped. We've filled that gap. We've pushed up. I still think there's potentially a little bit more movement to the upside before we move down this week. But we are also end of month as well. So end of month, we tend to get quite a volatile movement. As the sort of books are being balanced all over the place, everyone's going for targets. We tend to get quite a lot of volatility. So, although we've done that lovely rejection, I think potentially the strength of this pullback that we had. I think the market's going to want to pull back somewhere up into this area here at some point this week before we start next leg down. It'd be lovely to see it just come down below these lows, because that gives us a really simple bounce for the future. But so DAX I'm looking for shorts on today. As I say, the gap fill's done. I just tried to take a long, but we seem to have just gone into an accumulation. If you look at it on the M5 chart, there's our opening range high and opening range low. Pre-market high. All we've done really is just flagged. So we've got a flag in at the minute, which I'm looking for a bounce long, but that's what I thought and identified as potentially where the buyers were stepping in. And as soon as I got in, obviously they decided not to. It looks like it wants to go, and it's coming down very, very slowly. So I think potentially more movement to the upside somewhere up here today. But I don't know. We'll have to obviously see what unfolds. Nasdaq. Again, big drop. So on the daily, let me just move these off because they're nothing to do with this chart. So obviously on the daily, on the NAS, we've had obviously the drop, the pullback, the drop, the pullback, the drop, and then we went boom and double topped. We are now dropping again. We're coming back down to 129.37 area to retest this accumulation. Whether the market needs a pullback before or not, don't know. But that's ultimately looks like where we're headed. And again, we had a very, very, very big drop last week. We had two big down days, which was great because when you got on them, it didn't give you a lot of opportunity to get off. But they were very, very hard to actually get on because they moved so fast. So we had the drop, the flag, the drop. I'd be looking for a flag or a pullback into this area up to 136.28. It could well just flag and go. And if that happens, it happens. It's going to be difficult to get on it. But be watching this area here. For some kind of activity. If we can get back up into this area, that's where I would like to short it, somewhere in this accumulation. But, you know, with the indices, it's kind of day trading really most of the time. So price action really is the best thing to do. Just had a reverse alert, but obviously we're in the Globex session on these two at the minute, so not a massive amount of liquidity on them. But yeah, so that's where I'd be looking, somewhere in this accumulation for shorts on it. S&P, same sort of story really. S&P, lovely big drop down. The S&P, we broke the highs, so we had divergence on the S&P with the NAS because the NAS was doing that or that. We had that, and then the Dow you had the opposite. Yeah, so the S&P was like that, the Dow was like that. You know, the markets at the minute are just so difficult to read. They're not in sync. We've got different sectors being hit differently at the minute. The S&P and the Nasdaq are always very, very similar because the top 10 stocks in both of those that make up the vast majority of the movement in the index is the same. So whichever one of them you pick to trade, it's the same movement happening. But we have put in a nice rejection, a little pullback and a drop. I would need a pullback on that. But it can surprise you. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. We had 3 down days with a pullback, then another one. We're on our 3rd day, potentially down, if we can get down somewhere into these lows today. So if we get an ADR today, I think that's a lovely long opportunity because I think the market, there's going to be a lot of limit orders sitting down here. This got massively bought up to put a new high in. There's a lot of limit orders sitting down there. So I think that is where we want to be concentrating on. I'm just going to open Bookmap and have a quick look actually at the S&P down there. What's that? 41.56. Oh, so I've been adjusting stuff. Just minimize that one for a minute. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see. You're not going to see it. It's too short term. When we get down to sort of the 40, if we can crack, and you see how many orders are sitting at 4,200. There's this. This is the main problem for the S&P at the moment. It's 4,200. If we crack that 4,200, you'll see all the orders drop down to here, I think. So so the 4,200 level is, oops. Why can't I select? Oh, it's not selected. It's there. So this is where right, okay, so that is where the limit orders are all sitting at the moment. You can see that. Yeah. So 42.12 there's a batch, and then 4200. That's where everybody's sitting at the minute. So if we can get down to here today, that's where I'll be buying the hell out of it. 4200. So that's what we want to be concentrating on. So anywhere down in that zone, and there's a batch of orders above it as well. So somewhere around there, and you want to be out somewhere below 41.90. Give it a bit of room to move, but the ultimate low is down at 150 ADR today. If we get down to there today, it's going to be the mother of all pops, I think. But you never know. You can't tell, can you? So, but that's what I'll be looking at. And the Nasdaq as well. So 13,175 on the Nasdaq. Somewhere around down there at the minute. We've got big orders sitting down there. Yeah, so same zones on both indices at the minute. We're looking at that sort of area for some bounces. So we're not far away. So at the open today on the Nasdaq and the S&P, if we're down in those zones, which it looks like we could well easily be, I think I'll be looking for long opportunities today at the opens. So be looking to buy up the lows basically. At some point today, but we'll have a look at that at 2:20, just before the market opens. Anybody got anything else I want to look at? I've covered everything, so if there is, I don't know what it is, but if you have, let me know. Let's get on with crypto. I haven't had a look at crypto for a while. Not a lot. It's the same as the indices at the minute, isn't it? Crypto. It's just we got some lows coming up, which are potentially going to get a bounce from. But again, same as everything, we're in accumulation. No real directional bias. Market's stagnant. Crypto's really stagnant now. It's just another index. Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are just another index now. They're kind of the big boys, just it's where it's all all tracking what's going on with the major indices. So if we're getting down days on the major indices, you're getting down days on crypto. Same thing. You might as well trade the indices. Way more liquidity and obviously proper stocks driving them rather than something which confuses certain people like myself. Okay, so that's it for this morning. DAX this morning, we are pushing down again. So tricky. We just back down inside the initial opening range. So if we're pushing down to find liquidity, obviously we know where it is on the S&P and the Nasdaq. The DAX is probably going to be very, very similar. So we may well get a push down this morning out of these lows. It's horrible to trade today if you're trying to short this off of that gap fill. It's just very, very choppy. Literally, the wicks are just like taking out the lows, and it's just nasty. So everybody that's putting highs above candles today is getting chopped a bit. So I'm probably going to give that a miss this morning. Opening range breakout to the low is a possible trade. So this opening range low obviously is where the Frankfurt exchange opened, we pulled back and then we tested that, which is when we got our high. So we've got a double bottom opening range low here. There's going to be a lot of liquidity sitting under here. So there is a possibility that we get this breakout, but you're breaking out straight into ADR, which makes it very difficult. So I think I'm going to leave it this morning, but the trade really is going to be one of two things. If we get down to there and you see a nice pop and it doesn't pull back inside within the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes, you're probably going to get a nice move to the downside, but probably not got a lot of room on it. You've got much more room to the upside, I think. So a good opportunity would be to look for a run of that liquidity and then a push back up, and then you're probably going to grind today. So not particularly interesting. Euro Swiss is stuck. Euro odd equally stuck. So we have pushed down again. Just not really going anywhere at present. Ugh. Don't like where that's bounced. Okay, so I'll leave it there today. Anything you need, we just break it down to all those lows. Anything you need, let me know. I'll be in the Telegram group if you need anything. Link coming up to that in a minute. I'll be back on at 2:20 this afternoon, and we'll have a look at the US indices and see if we can make some money on those in the futures account or spot, whichever you want. Yeah, so that's it. Anything you need, let me know in Telegram, and hopefully I will see you guys this afternoon at 2:20.